welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. I'm Dean Gemmel, and in this edition, we talked to a curler who was on the hot seat before we even called. Olympic gold medalist, runner-up at the 2007 Tim Hortons Brier, and a guy who made news without even being on the ice last week, Brad Gushue. Welcome to The Curling Show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Brad, well, we know the big news last week that Jamie Korab no longer going to be a part of your team. Jamie has said he was shocked when you told him, but much has been made of an on-ice blow-up between you and Jamie at the Strauss Canada Cup. But when was this decision actually made?
It was actually made probably midweek at the Brier. The actual incident that Jamie is talking about was kind of more so confirmation for all of us, but the decision was probably started midway through the season, if not earlier, and we had toyed with it and finally had come to a decision at the Brier, and the incident really had nothing to do with the decision.
Well, you've said that this decision was based strictly on issues of on-ice chemistry. Were there times throughout this season when you, Mark, or Chris talked to Jamie about the issues you were having with his attitude and how it was affecting the team?
Yeah, we had several meetings, and your first line of helping the situation is to try and talk it through and make some adjustments, and we did that on several occasions, and it just didn't seem to work. And I think it's a difference in personalities between all four of us, and the mix just didn't seem to work.
Reaction to the decision, for the most part, has been running fairly negative against you. Are you at all surprised by the intensity surrounding this decision?
To be honest, yes and no. Yes, because I didn't realize it'd be so personally attacking. No, I'm not surprised because Jamie is a likable guy. He's a good curler, and I think the fact that we were the Olympic gold medalists and in Newfoundland in particular, they're taking it pretty hard, and I think the reason for that is we're losing a Newfoundlander from the team. I think the reason it's being directed towards me is because ultimately I'm the skip, and on most teams the skip kind of has the final say, but in this particular case this was a team decision, and to make a decision of this magnitude, you're not going to do it as one person, and this was something that Mark, Chris, Glenn, our coach, and even Jeff, our fifth man, was a part of this, and we had discussed it at length, and we feel very, very comfortable with our decision.
Some credit to you guys, I guess, for your success last year. That's part of the reason I think it was big news. I think in the past, curling team change certainly didn't get this much attention in the media.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just because of some of the success we've had over the last year and a half. But we had a pretty rocky year, and it just got to the point where we weren't enjoying ourselves on the ice or on the road. And, if we're going to be on the road for 4 months of the year, we want to enjoy ourselves and we want to give ourselves the best opportunity to win. And, each one of us fully believe that this is a move that we had to make to get that back, where we actually enjoy going out on the ice and believe we can go out and win on a weekly basis.
Talk about the timing for a moment. Why now, with just one major event, the Asham World Curling Tour's Tylenol Players Championship, left on your schedule?
Well, the biggest part was we didn't want to go another week under false pretenses, and we found it difficult in Kamloops and Port Hawkesbury to play, knowing that the decision was pretty well made. And to go through that, not so much the lie, but just to know in the back of our minds that this is not going any further, it was very difficult, and I don't think it was fair to us, and I don't think in particular it was fair to Jamie. There's friendships on the line, and we didn't want to put it at any more of a risk than what it is already.
Do you think those friendships will ever recover?
Oh, for sure. This is a game, ultimately, and this is the type of decision that's made in this game on a regular basis. And myself and Jamie had played together in the past, and we had went our separate ways, and it was a little rocky for a short period of time, but ultimately friendships went out, and I'm sure it will in this case. And I can understand his shock and his disappointment and whatever other emotions he's feeling, but time will heal all this, and we'll get back to being the friends that we were prior, and Mark feels the same way. So
Chris said it was about doing the right thing for the team, and I think that's sort of language that Jennifer Jones used when they cut Dana Allerton earlier this season too. But I imagine Jamie would say it was really the best thing for 3/4 of the team. Here's where things in my mind might get a bit sticky in the future, mainly because the rewards in elite level curling have grown. Now, the money may not be big enough yet to justify legal costs, but if I was an attorney, I think it would be fairly easy to argue that curling is a team game, and Jamie was at least 1/4 of the reason for the success of your team. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to be playing in the Town Hall Players Championship with the biggest cash purse of the season, Olympic trial spots on the line without him. Since curling teams have always been sort of volatile organisms, do you think elite teams are going to have to start drawing up contracts between players?
I don't think so. There's no money guarantees in curling, really. You play on a weekly basis, and if you're successful on 1 week, then you do get some money. It's not guaranteed contracts, and until that point where there's guaranteed money involved, I don't think there's any reason to have contracts. And really, we're doing this on a volunteer basis. We sign up for the team. There was no contract on our team that was ever signed, and I don't think really any of the top teams have a contract in place. And
the only place it gets interesting is there are events where you get into based on prior performance.
Yeah, and those ones we would have no problem giving Jamie his fair share if anything like that happened. I know Shannon Clyburn had a similar situation last year where they qualified for the Continental Cup and Glennis didn't get to participate, but they financially compensated her for missing that event. And I think that's only fair. And if a situation like that arises, we'd have absolutely no problem doing that because we wouldn't be in that event if it wasn't for Jamie helping us out.
Well, I think I think it's a credit to the elite level curlers who've moved the game along, and you're right. It's still nobody's making the kind of money that golfers are, but we have a curious game in that we have 4 players versus 1 in golf. So there are some interesting scenarios maybe 10 years down the line. Hopefully, if money is bigger.
Yeah, definitely. I think that almost be a nice problem to have, where curlers are actually doing it for a living and making a good amount of money, and if that ever becomes the case, and sure, it'll be great to have signed contracts where you're going to make a couple $100,000, or if we're ever lucky enough to get it to NHL status, make millions of dollars. And if that's the case, you definitely need signed contracts, and I think you'll see a lot of things change if it gets to that point.
Yeah, right now most curlers are still probably in the hole at the end of the season. So
yeah, definitely, and even the top level curlers, you see them making $50,000, $60,000, $100,000. You have to split that 4 ways and then pay for your expenses. So ultimately, it's not a lot of money. We play mainly for the love of the game, and that's why we play.
Hey, you're taking Andrew Gibson of Team Dacey, a team that apparently disbanded recently, to Calgary this week. Is this a chance to see how Andrew might fit?
Sure. We're not ruling out any possibilities right now. We've known Andrew for 10 years, I guess, and have become friends with him on the tour. And he was the first name that came to mind when we were looking for a replacement, and we knew that Mark wasn't going to be playing in the Players Championship. And we're going to be looking a lot of places. We have a couple players right now in Newfoundland that we're keeping an eye on, and also a couple players abroad, and we just want to see who's going to be the best fit. And we're not going to make a rush decision. We're going to make sure that whoever comes in is going to fit into the team and fit into the vision that we have for the team.
So, a lot of talk about that it would be someone from outside of Newfoundland, but you're not ruling out anybody in Newfoundland.
Oh, no. Right now, there's 3 players that we have our eye on. Outside the province, there's, at least 3, maybe more that we're talking about. But, we're going to find the best fit. And if that best fit is in Newfoundland, then that's who we're going to go with. If that fit is in Manitoba or Nova Scotia or Ontario, that's where we're going to go. So, we're going to try and make the best decision for the team and really put the place where they live on the outside. Now, ultimately, they are going to have to move here and be residents in Newfoundland so we can play in the Brier, and that's going to be a big deciding factor.
You mentioned that Jamie's one of the more popular players on tour. Do you think you'll have a lot of questions from other players this weekend?
To be honest, I don't think we will. I think a lot of the top-level teams have seen what was going on with our teams during the last number of weeks, and from a spectator's point of view, you probably can't see it, but when you're competing against a team and you're within inches of them as they're having discussions, you can really realize what's going on and what's happening in the chemistry. And I think the majority of the teams probably weren't shocked by this move. They may have been surprised, but definitely weren't shocked.
I'm not trying to claim that I'm some great prognosticator, but I must say, even as a spectator, I sensed a slight distance between the rest of the team and Jamie, so I wasn't as completely surprised maybe as others were.
Yeah, that's fair to say, and really that's, like I said, that's where it was kind of decided that we were going to go, and it was real difficult to continue on knowing that that's in the back of your mind, and going back to the timing, that's why I felt it's important that we make this move now as opposed to go through another week where we're going to go through that. And it just makes it really difficult for everybody involved. And if you're spending that much time away from your home and your family, you want to make sure you're enjoying it and giving it your best shot.
You talked about the fact that so much of the criticism seemed to be directed at you personally. Is there any time you sort of wish that it wasn't so much Team Gushue?
Well, at these times, you definitely do. But it comes with the territory, and it's the nature of the game that sometimes the skip gets a little bit more glory during the good times, and it's only fair that they probably get more of the blame during the bad times. And I realize that. I wish it was the type of game where all four players got the even credit, and even if you can name your team something else. Like I really feel that just singling the skip out is a little bit different. I'd like to be able to put a name on your team like, the NBA team to Stu or whatever, just to take some of the attention away.
Yeah, it is interesting how focused our game is on the skip. I mean, a lot of talk about Glenn Howard at the Worlds skipping and winning, and he was, always careful to deflect it to his team, which the whole team played so well, so it wasn't just Glenn suddenly skipping and carrying that group.
Yeah, and there's no skip in the world that is going to say that it's all the skip or the skip in the third. It's a four-man game, and you can't win without a lead, holding their own, or a second holding their own, or a third, or a skip. You need all four players going, and Glenn proved that this week, that when you got four players rolling, you can be pretty darn good, and you're not going to be beat by many teams. And it's definitely a team game. I think it should be more focused on that in the future. I don't know how it's going to happen because we've done it now for so many years that it's going to be really hard to change, but it'd be real nice if you can tweak it somehow.
Okay, enough about you, Brad. Let's talk about Glenn Howard's team and that amazing performance at the Ford World Championships this week. I thought the field was probably a touch weaker than in the past with some new teams in transition and whatnot, but still, that was some kind of clinic that Howard's team put on. One thing I think we might be seeing is that Canadian teams, with the strength of the fields and the events in the ASHM World Curling Tour, are distancing themselves again from the rest of the world. Do you think that might be true?
Well, after Glenn's performance, I would say yes. That was incredible. They played as well as I've ever seen them play, and I've seen them play awfully well in the past. I don't know if we're distancing ourselves as much as Glenn's performance would show, but I think we are a little bit. I think we've got a lot of good programs in place, and we're definitely going to be prepared whoever goes to represent Canada in 2010. And I think one thing that played a factor this year was a lot of the European teams know that they're going to the Olympics a couple years out and are really taking a year off, I guess, to regroup after the last 3 or 4 year stretch. And I think you've seen that a little bit this year, but no matter who Glenn played this week, I think he was going to win, and I think he was going to steamroll through the field, even if you had Kevin Martin, Randy Furby, and a number of other great teams in there. I think he would have cruised through the way they were playing. Yeah,
they were playing awfully well. Hey, finally, the Tylenol Players' Championship is going to be an all-Canadian affair to the dismay of some fans of the game in other parts of the world. Now, I'm a naturalized American who happens to believe that at least the top 20 men's teams in the world are in Canada. But what are your thoughts on the ASHM World Curling Tour running a Canadian-only event?
They're positive and negative. I guess from the positive side, it's good that we have an Olympic trial spot at the Players' Championship. But from a negative side, there are a lot of other great teams in the world, and it adds a lot when you have those teams involved in the event. So, I can't say I'm in favor or not in favor. I think it's good for us because we're Canadian, and it's good for us that there's a trial spot on the line and a lot of other things. And it's going to be a big event. It's going to be a lot of fun to play in, but it sure would be nice to have the Thomas Olsruds and Pete Fensons of the world competing in an event like this.
No, I really do think that we're going to see the best curling of the year in Calgary as long as the teams still have their A game this late in the season. But it really is, in my mind, and maybe I'll be criticized down here in the U.S. or anywhere else, but I think it is the best collection of talent we're going to see on the ice. I think in the future I could see where they say the top Canadian finisher, in case an international team wins, gets the trial spot.
Yeah, but they're trying to get away from the runner-up, I guess, getting the Olympic trial spot. So
that's true.
I can understand that, but I would like to see the players in the future be the top 16 teams, no matter where they're from. And you may be right that they're all from Canada this year, but down the road that's definitely going to change, and it might not even be the case this year.
Yeah, you're right.
If you have the top 16 teams, even if it is 12 European teams and 4 Canadian teams, then I think that's the way it should be, because the Players' Championship to me is the best of the best competing to win. So I'd like to see it that way. I think it is this year. I think it's an incredible field, and whoever comes out is going to be playing awfully well.
Well, I sure hope the people of Calgary get out and support it and anywhere else, because it really will be great curling. If somebody's at the Worlds and they want to see it, they should head down there. Hey, we finished with a run back, Brad. I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words.
Okay.
Curling and sunglasses.
Ooh. Cool.
Some of the front ends on the European teams, they either look like they were 12 or like James Bond villains. So it was a curious look. I don't know. Making teams complete 8 ends before conceding.
Foolish.
Charlie Thomas.
Great player. Whoever gets him is going to be lucky.
The picks at the Tim Hortons Brier.
Awful.
You know, it's interesting. You know, same ice maker, Dave Merklinger in Edmonton, no problems. So I don't know what was going on there.
Well, I think a lot of it was, one was the rocks. They were different rocks, and I think the second part of it was, Dave admitted that there was a filter that wasn't cleaned or something.
Right, a problem with the jet ice machine.
Yeah, and I think those two things played a factor. I don't think it was the ice maker. Dave's a quality ice maker and wouldn't be making it at the Brier if he wasn't capable.
That's true. He is a great ice maker. I think it was just too bad that whole week. But anyways, the good news, like you said, I do think the best team won there in Hamilton.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's the good thing about it. It would have been a sin to see a team come through just on luck, and definitely the best team got out.
The new look of the Furby 4.
Shiny.
And finally, the new wider international sheet to be used for international curling.
I love it.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if any clubs can squeeze those in themselves.
Yeah, it really adds another variable to the game, because you can, throw the corner guards a little bit wider and still come around them on the outside. It just, helps the full sheet get used, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, I give everybody a chance to name their sponsors, so go ahead and give me yours.
Ours are Chester Daw Building Supplies, Saville Group, and Asham Curling Supplies.
All right, Brad, thanks for your time. Thanks for your candor, and good luck this weekend in Calgary at the Tylenol Players Championship.
Thanks, Dean. Appreciate it.
That's Brad Gushue on The Curling Show. Remember that there's still one more weekend of great curling, and even if you're pulling out your golf clubs, fans of the game should make sure to either watch the Asham World Curling Tour's Tylenol Players Championship this weekend on CBC, on Curl TV, or get to the Corral in Calgary to watch it live. There's a lot more than a lot of money on the line at this event, and I'm quite sure the curling will be remarkable. About the only thing that would make it better is black pudding in the lounge. Maybe next year.